So what's up, people? This is Robert BASSANO. When you start searching for one pure truth, it leads you into all sorts of crevices and holes and tunnels and ideas and concepts and theories and constructs and hypotheses that you never thought existed. When you decide to search for truth, you have to be prepared to learn everything that's associated with that truth that is being hidden from you, covered up, suppressed, concealed, or just flat out manipulated to lead you into believing that the truth you are being told is not really the truth at all. It's someone else's stolen idea that's been redacted, amended, supplemented, modified. The people who are telling you the truth are liars. The people we've learned the truth from on the academic level, maybe our parents. We can't so much blame our parents because they grew up in a time when they were illiterate, irregardless of what their education was. You might have had parents who really were about seeking truth, and they were ostracized for going outside of the mainstream and thinking differently from the rest of society. And maybe your family was alienated. Maybe you moved around like I did. We moved around everywhere. My mother was an independent thinker, and so was my father. I'm an independent thinker. I do what I want, how I want, and when I want. Okay? I strive to maintain my own independent thinking. Yes, I've gone through the traditional academic, how should I say, disinformation mill that they call an education system. And I realized early on in my life, and I'm saying very early on, this is before I even finished middle school, that a lot of the things you're being told, matter of fact, the majority of what you're being told is bullshit. Complete and utter bullshit. Unless you go searching for the information yourself, to decipher what is fact, what is fiction, and what other information you can collect to validate what you believe to be the truth, then what you are accepting as fact and truth from someone else is just out of sheer fucking laziness. A lot of you out there watch these YouTube channels, you listen to what people say, you take it for face value, you'll click on the thumbs up button, you'll click on the thumbs down button, you'll make a comment without knowing who the person is, or you think that what the person has said goes completely against what you believe and what you've been told, so you'll immediately disparage that individual, call them names, think they're crazy or they're uneducated. But to be perfectly honest with you people, that's a small percentage of the people. There are true, independent, cognitive, critical thinkers out there who say 90% of what you hear on the internet and social media, that is their truth. That is real truth. And it might not be the truth in its entirety, but it's information that leads you into conducting research to discover how that individual came about that idea, that construct, that hypothesis, that theory. Because they're seeing some things that you don't see. They're hearing some things that you don't hear. They know things that you don't know. Or they're able to decipher what you do know, what you do see, what you do hear, at a far much more complex level that is far beyond your rudimentary understanding and comprehension, and your stubbornness. Because the majority of us are just plain old fucking stubborn. We don't want to learn anything new if it goes against what we've already learned and the time we spent to actually learn it. So if you get introduced to a new idea, rather it be, considering that the entire earth is flat, or maybe they can control the weather, or nuclear weapons exist or don't exist, or, is it possible to create free energy? Are your politicians being honest with you? How the banking system really works? It doesn't matter what the subject may be. But if you put a lot of time into learning the foundational basics of what that particular subject matter may be, and then someone comes along in your life or you get presented with a completely 180-degree view of that contradicts everything that you've learned and everything that you've been told, you're either one, rejected in its entirety as nonsense, ridiculous, and stupid or illiterate, which in turn will make you fucking stupid, illiterate, and just plain old fucking stubborn, or you will take the idea into consideration, do maybe some superficial research, and then you'll start developing this confirmation bias to look for information. You'll look for more information that's more supportive of your own ideas, rather than digging deeper into finding out how that person or how that contrary idea that was presented to you came about. How was it created? There are people out there with original thoughts. There are people out there with developing thoughts. There are people out there with just no fucking thoughts at all. And the danger is in not fucking thinking for yourself. That's where the danger is. And if you are a person seeking real understanding, and let me backtrack. Let me not use the word real, because nothing is fucking real. Life is what you make it, to coin a cliche phrase. You can create what it is. So if you're not even sure what quantum even means, or how the idea, the concept of quantum science or quantum anything came about, and why that particular area is of importance in your own understanding of your surroundings, or where you are, where you're going, who you are, who you'll become, who you were, then I strongly suggest you start studying the quantum realm, the quantum sciences, the quantum mechanics behind how things come about. And when I say things, I'm talking about all things. Your thoughts, your feelings, your emotions, your words, your actions, how things are built, why they're built. Are they naturally occurring, or they just collectively agree to come together to be what they are? You need to start from the beginning, not from the fucking middle, not from the end. You have people out there doing all this research and seeking for truth. And you're starting off, if truth is 100-foot linear line with quantum notches along the way from 0, actually no, from 10 to the minus 35 all the way to 10 to the 35, magnified to infinity. And you're starting off somewhere 1/3 or 2/3 or halfway in between. You need to look to your left or right of that linear line and say, okay, which way do I need to go? If I go forward, then I won't truly have an understanding of what was in the opposite direction to comprehend what I am going to eventually be exposed to and what I'm going to see. So you need to turn the fucker back around and head backwards to get some sort of general understanding of how did this all come about. Because frankly, to seek truth, you need to understand how the information was generated, why the information was generated, why the concept was generated, what brought about the purpose of the creation of that concept for it to become something to be discussed and then to be forgotten and then to be reintroduced back into your world. So what I'm trying to say here is this. If you can't find the time or put forth the effort to go back as deep as you can possibly go so that you can deliver messages that are clear, concise, and rudimentary in nature, but instead you start from the middle and then you jump back a few steps and then you jump forward a few steps and then you come up with a foundational understanding to jump forward to give yourself a hypothesis and theory based on information that you haven't thoroughly researched to begin with in the first place. So do you think it's actually proper and prudent for you to even fucking open your mouth to say anything at all? To talk about something you don't even know yourself? And if you're seeking truth, what is the truth? Truth is made up of many lies that hopefully one day people will decide, okay, we're going to stick with this because these collection of lies have allowed us to come to a conclusion that this will be the status quo. Now, what's the purpose of this video? The purpose of this video, I respect this man. For those that don't know who this gentleman is, just by his photo alone, his picture, and you are a seeker of truth, you're looking into the flat earth, the globe, you're trying to understand what it is you're being told, what it is you're seeing, but you don't know who this guy is? If you haven't touched on this guy, through all the videos you've posted out, and you don't know his face by sight the second you see his photo, you need to start looking into who this gentleman actually is. And for those who are too fucking lazy to do their own research, I'll tell you who this is. This is Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla. This is the guy that created wireless technology. Not some stupid fucking bloody bushman in fucking Australia. I did a little bit of research. There's a claim out there that some fucking Australian in the 1990s, or maybe before that, created Wi-Fi. That's a crock of shit. Not no disrespect to Australians. I'm not saying that they can't create anything. But they're sure damn good at fucking being a colonial fucking society and a colonial power. They knew how to push out those fucking Aborigine people. See, the British are just famous for that type of shit. Everywhere they go, everything turns to shit. They fucked up Iran, they fucked up Palestine, they fucked up Europe. Everywhere they go. It's the one fucking monarchy on the fucking planet that is so fucked up, everybody just wants their fucking ass to go away. And America's got this fucking head so far up their fucking asses, they're still paying fucking taxes to the fucking crown to this very day. But Americans are not told that in the media in the United States. No, 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 no. You can't make the Queen angry. Fuck Her Majesty. Fuck the royal family. This guy created Wi-Fi. We should be enjoying free energy. The 21st century could be given the tools to actually advance. Because without him, without this guy, Nikola Tesla, you wouldn't fucking have the technology you have. Fucking wouldn't have been born. Because if it wasn't for him, you wouldn't have telephones, you wouldn't have wireless technology, you wouldn't have computers, you wouldn't have an electrical grid, you wouldn't have any of that shit. There's another gentleman I'm going to talk about who actually created the fucking telephone. And you'll all be shocked to find out who the fuck it was. Because the people we're told who created shit and the inventors and the contributors to modern society, these people are all fucking frauds. They're thieves. They're fucking thieves. They should go down in the history books as fucking low-life pieces of shit, crooks, and thieves. They had no fucking original ideas of their own. They had to steal every fucking thing from either this guy and other well-known people in history who were barely mentioned in American textbooks and even European textbooks. They pick and choose who they want to be the face of everything that we know to be. Electrical engineers won't even talk about this guy in depth in their teachings on the graduate and PhD level for electrical engineering. I know in physics, this guy was mentioned one fucking time in a 600-page fucking physics textbook that I actually paid for the course. He was mentioned one fucking time in 600 pages. Einstein, Newton, their fucking names were all over the fucking textbook. Einstein even admitted, and I'll repeat what everybody else has been saying. I think most people got it from a quote that I had on my Google Plus page that I put up. Well, Einstein was asked, how does it feel to be the smartest person? And he says, I don't know. You have to ask Nikola Tesla. Tesla got Einstein to change his thinking, his beliefs, his understanding. Tesla was like in his day, he was like Jeff Stewart, debunking the debunkers. He debunked what every other scientist was trying to do, telling them, don't do this. You're wasting your fucking time. This is what you should be working on. This is what you should be doing. So did Friedrich Nietzsche. He warned us about having these terrestrial hopes of going into space and relying on God. Space travel is not going to save us. God's not going to save you. You need to realize that you are a superhuman. You are a superhuman being who is capable of creating your own reality, manifesting the things that you need and want to be immortal, literally immortal. And that's where artificial intelligence is going to take us, whether you like it or not. If you think you don't want to live forever, consciously, and maybe be put into an artificially developed avatar that your own mind can envision and create for itself, You just want to get this life over with, then get this fucking life over with. Why fucking wait? You don't know how long you're going to live, but you could decide how long you live. So if you're not comfortable with the idea of being immortal, to experience all there is to experience for as long as you possibly can, maybe till infinity, fucking end it now. Save the fucking taxpayers some fucking money. Save everybody else the resources who are really motivated to be here and stay here and contribute to what the fuck life is really all about. Get the fuck out of here. I want to go to this article in Kansas City paper talking about Nikola Tesla. So here we are. We have a article written about Nikola Tesla from the Kansas City Journal Post. It ran the headline in September of 1933. Now, why is that date important? That year. I chose this article because of a variety of things that kind of popped up into my head regarding wireless technology, because I'm working on an advanced technology project that involves Wi-Fi as the foundation for delivery of a particular technological capability, fusing technology with human beings. I also chose it for the simple fact that there was something that's going to be discussed here, and you'll see it in the title. Tremendous new power soon to be unleashed. And the key, what I want you to focus on, is this: completing a process for photographing thought. Now, I'm not going to make any kind of technological claims of what my tech will do and what it won't do. Those who have ever seen the video, which I've now made private, you might have caught a glimpse of it and you'll have an idea. But I think you're going to find this interesting. Okay? And we'll start reading from the beginning. The following are quotes from this newspaper. Several of these inventions or discoveries will be looked upon as miracles by many people, for Mr. Tesla has long been a scientist years ahead of his time, one whose advanced theories have alternately stamped him a madman and a wizard, just as people ridiculed Copernicus' theory of the planetary system. The unenlightened jeered Tesla's pronouncement years ago regarding cosmic rays. The pathfinder and the pioneer, and Mr. Tesla is both, are always condemned by the masses. Now, let's focus on something. Just as people ridiculed Copernicus' theory of the planetary system, we all know Copernicus believed the Earth was a spinning ball. Okay? He believed all those planets were like this. He was ridiculed. Copernicus was ridiculed because the collective masses believe that the Earth was flat. So the mere fact that Tesla was put into this article as a comparison by this author of this article, we're going to ignore that, because Tesla can't be compared to Copernicus' ridicule. Tesla was ridiculed and shunned for the simple fact that he wanted to give the world free energy. And J.P. Morgan says, hey, if I can't put a meter on it, I'm not going to invest in it. So he turned to Thomas Edison. But we're going to basically prove Edison to be a fucking fraud too, because Tesla actually worked for Thomas Edison. Okay? He's a fraud. We're also going to show the fact that Alexander Graham Bell, he's not who you think he was. Well, he was Alexander Graham Bell, but what he's credited for, not his. We'll get to that later. So, I'm not going to read this whole article, but I want to jump to some things, some quotes that Tesla made in this article. Okay? So Tesla says here, Will the smashing of the atom lead to this new power energy? Let Mr. Tesla answer. The public is naturally led to expect a great revolution through the harnessing of atomic power. But this is an illusion. Atomic power is not available for work. For the last 30 years, I have warned my fellow scientists that there is nothing to be expected in this field. Nothing. So, I've heard a bunch of people, saying that nuclear power, useless, doesn't exist. It's basically nothing but a fraud. Eric Dollar's even said the same thing. Seen a bunch of nuclear power facilities pop up. I heard it in another conversation on another video the other day, where you see all of these nuclear power stations. They're all tied in these lines. You see some steam coming from what you believe to be the nuclear pool where the rods are being cooled down. But get this. You ever took a tour of one of these places to see how this nuclear fission process actually works? Have you ever read a nuclear fission paper to see how the nuclear energy has actually been harnessed to create electricity? Because nuclear fission doesn't create electricity. All it is just something you put in the water to get it fucking boiling and create steam, which and then the steam is harnessed to create the electricity. You don't need nuclear anything to do it. You just need heat. When I get a fucking 2 pieces of fucking wood, get them together and boom, fire up the furnace, baby. That's how we used to do it back in the day. There ain't nothing fantastic about nuclear fission. It's bullshit. It's fraud. It's just another way of generating money and getting it from those who obviously couldn't be able to create it on themselves. And you can't even have access to those type of fucking materials. Moving on. Tesla says, I expect to photograph thoughts, announced Mr. Tesla calmly, in the same tone of voice one might talk about rain. Continued Mr. Tesla, quote, in 1893, I became convinced that a definite image formed in thought must, by reflex action, produce a corresponding image on the retina, which can be read by suitable apparatus. This brought me to my system of television. Television, people. Tesla equal television. Now, there'll be a shitload of you so-called historians out there and so-called research intelligence specialists, wannabe research intelligence specialists, that'll go to fucking Wikipedia, or go to fucking Google or Bing or Yahoo, and you'll look for the first fucking piece of information that comes up in the top 10 or top 20 in that fucking search engine. And you'll probably type in inventor of television or the invention of the television. And you'll come up with the names of Mr. Farnsworth or some other fucking lying-ass sack of shit who took credit for creating the television. But if you do enough good, thorough research, you'll come up with the conclusive answer that I came up with. That they can't even fucking agree on who created the television. And the reason why they can't agree, and this is my own independent statement, is that they don't want to give Tesla the credit for it. Now, I'm not saying he invented the television. But as you can see right here in his own words, has brought him to his system of the television. Whatever he had been working on at the time, which was basically projecting an image onto a screen, some sort of tube. That technology was used to create the television, and Mr. Farnsworth took credit for it, or is taking credit for it. Dead and fucking long gone, Mr. Farnsworth, if you can hear me and you're a ghost, fuck you for being a liar. Fuck you for being a thief. Fuck you for not writing a paper and giving Nikola Tesla credit for the ideas that he created. The technology he created for you to lie in your grave right now with a smile on your fucking face for something that wasn't even yours. But it's interesting how all of this shit gets all convoluted and mixed up. Going to the next paragraph. The author says, I first came across Nikola Tesla not in Scientific American, not on Nova, not in Popular Mechanics. I came across the most amazing scientific genius of all time in a magazine called Ancient Astronauts. The article was called Nikola Tesla, the Man Who Fell to Earth by Harry Ember. The first paragraph blew my mind and still does to this day. When I first read it, it was hardly believed. Everything I had read on Tesla after this article had supported its credibility. The first paragraph deserves reprinting. Nikola Tesla invented the 20th and 21st century. A discoverer of new principles, Tesla was the sole inventor of the alternating polyphase current generators that light up every town in the world today. He was the original inventor of the radio, and placed his ideas in print and demonstrated them before the public 5 years before Marconi. By the turn of the century, he had discussed the feasibility of television. He created an atom smasher capable of evaporating rubies and diamonds. He built wireless neon lamps that gave off more light than today's conventional bulbs provide. He built precursors to the electron microscope, the laser, and X-ray photographs. He sent his shadowgraphs to the discoverer of X-rays in 1895 as soon as Röntgen published his famous pictures. Tesla also created Kirlian-like photographs 75 years before they became famous. All of this took place before 1900. End quote. John O'Neill, author of Prodigal Genius, describes Tesla's New York lab as seemingly unearthly forces that with visible fingers set objects whirling, cause globes and tubes of various shapes to glow resplendently in unfamiliar colors, transplanting the darkened room into one crackling with hissing sheets of flame which issued from monstrous coils. Reproduced here is an old article called The Inventor Who Smashed His Own Invention. And again, this talks about how he created some sort of vibrating tiny oscillator that shit made the police station furniture shake. They came running to his house, and when they got there, he had a sledgehammer. He was smashing everything because that was the only way he can get the vibrations to stop. It was also a way for him to kind of, make sure nobody else got the tech and they could potentially use it. So he was, destroying the evidence as well. Interesting about this is that he also discussed Tesla had the idea of illuminating oceans. How about that? Illuminating oceans. Critics saw this as absurd. With a fully operational world system, we could light the oceans. Large, permanent, wireless lights could illuminate the depths of the seas. Why not? Tesla also bounced a laser off the moon in the 19th century. Was Tesla Da Vinci in his past life? That's interesting because when you talk about the oceans, I heard someone talk about this the other day, how the main oceans are highly salinated, salt water, and then you have saltwater lakes, you have freshwater lakes. So if you had an in-depth understanding on how electricity works and how to generate it, and you could create a light bulb that basically used the ocean waters to generate its light. You just drop this bad boy into the ocean, and they get carried by the current, and the waters are lit up. But then you got to worry about fish who are attracted to light, and they go swallowing the damn things. That'd be an interesting sight to see, huh? But think about this. Why would they not want to allow Tesla to patent such a piece of technology to illuminate the ocean so we can literally see what the fuck is down there. Who's down there? How's everything working? I mean, we can't even get beyond 8 miles with a manned sub. We can't drill more than 8 miles on the land masses. So could that possibly mean we can't get beyond 8 miles in the atmosphere? What is below is above, right? Right? The man knew something. Nikola had the idea that a large transmitter could create an impenetrable wall of force. A literal force field could be wrapped around cities and even wrapped around countries. He saw this as an end to war. The truth is an invisible hole at the very top of the protective bubble, like a hurricane's eye, would leave the transmitter open to attack. The invention also would eliminate war in the hearts of individuals. Now that's interesting. This protected, the truth is a hole, an invisible hole at the very top of the protective layer. Isn't that where the ozone layer is, in the surface center of the earth? There's a hole. Literally, in the surface center of the earth, they call the ozone. Go on to Google Earth Pro. Don't go on to google.com/maps. Go to Google Earth Pro. Download it. It's fucking free. It's free. And I've done this before in videos where I zoom all the way in to ground view level. And if you go to the surface center, to the Arctic, there's one big black fucking hole there. The same hole exists in the Antarctic. Surface center of the landmass. So Tesla knew what the Earth shape was. He knew what it looked like. And he figured out how to use the entire Earth's electromagnetic field to create an artificial force field that could be created around cities, your house, maybe your person. I mean, damn. Imagine that. You're walking around in this protective invisible bubble. You can be walking down the streets of New York City during rush hour at lunchtime, and people are bouncing off of you without even touching you. They're wondering, what the hell is that? You know, what's this kind of force field? This I mean, hell, your heart gives off a very strong electromagnetic field. Someone can look at you a block away, and as they're approaching you, if you got a specific look on your face, they'll try to avoid you. Hey, those black people, let me walk the other way. I won't get my purse stolen. There's a quantum effect going on. Or walk away in the opposite direction. Let's keep going. Nikola had the idea of a large, we already said it over there. One of Tesla's best friends was Mark Twain. What did these two brilliant men talk about at their first meeting? What was the subject these geniuses discussed? The weather? They talked about how. Everyone complains about the weather, but no one does anything about it. Tesla did do something about it. His devices could make rain, attract lightning, repel clouds, storms, and rain. We do not have to be stuck with any reality when intelligence can break traditional laws. Here you have the law of gravity, the law of thermodynamics, the law of fluid dynamics. You have all these fucking laws in science and mathematics, right? And here you have one of the world's most intelligent men to ever exist say, we do not have to be stuck with any reality when intelligence can break traditional laws. So fuck Newton, fuck Einstein, okay? Fuck Galileo, fuck them all. All these laws that are created in the sciences are made to be broken, can be broken. But because they're being used as a standard model for mathematics and other sciences, if you don't stick with those models, then you come up with a result that is flawed or can't be proven. But you could create a new system whereby these laws don't apply. That's true higher learning and critical thinking. But see, the problem is this. You're not trained to think for yourself. You're trained to say, hey, here's what it is we want to teach you. Do the best you can to memorize this and apply it. And you'll be just fucking fine. When you got to apply for a job, we'll know where you got your education from. And based on where you got your education, because we know who we're sharing this information with, and we know how these teachers are supposed to be presented it, we'll accept your degree or won't accept your degree. We'll accept your transcript or won't accept your transcript because you learned something completely different than what we want you to learn. So I'm sorry, we're going to go for a candidate who's got a degree from an Ivy League school or some other school that, has a relationship with one of these other main schools. It's fucking bullshit, man. The people, Tesla created stuff. Other people have created a whole bunch of incredible inventions, and some of these people didn't even go to fucking school, man. They taught themselves how to decipher truth from fiction. They committed themselves to learning the foundational standard model and then decided, okay, what's wrong with this foundational standard model? How can I make it better? What am I missing? What are they trying to tell me why are they telling me this can't happen? Because anytime in any of these laws they say you can't do this, this defies the laws of gravity. When you hear someone use that term, this defies the laws of gravity, that means you just broke the fucking law of gravity. So if you can do things that defy the laws that are set in standard models, what does that tell you about the law? It's inapplicable, right? Meaning that what you learn is bullshit. But you need to learn the foundation on how they want you to know this and how they don't want you to know. I think that we're all being held back from creating things that can really fucking disrupt the status quo and be disruptive to the entire community, where literally your neighbor's living in $1 million house. Shit, they're going to have to sell that fucking house to you because now you're the fucking millionaire. And they've invested in fucking tech and other stocks led by people who fucking stole the idea from somebody else. And now it's fucking useless. It's obsolete because you got something new. Here's what he did. Tesla was placed on... No, I don't want to read that. That's ridiculous. Okay, I want to talk about other scientists in his stamp block. Armstrong, Steinmetz, and Farnsworth, the television guy, only became famous building on the work of Tesla. They only became famous. These guys became famous building on Tesla's work. They don't give him credit for any of that shit. In 1901, when Marconi received world acclaim for sending a few clicks across the Atlantic Ocean, Tesla had already developed and began construction of his Radio City. This tower, Wardenclyffe, would have been able to transmit reproductions of photographic pictures, TV, news service, music, navigation service for ships, and much more information which could be received anywhere in the world. Tesla planned to contact Venus and Mars with his world wireless. Okay? Marconi literally stole the idea of the radio right out of Tesla's lab. Marconi almost got away with it. Tesla was slow to capitalize on radio because he was so consumed with wireless principles applied to electricity. In a chart entitled Wireless Telegraphy Mechanically Illustrated, Tesla's world system is shown simple. Over an ocean, a tuning fork is placed horizontally. There is a connection between the waves and the tuning fork. In the distance is another similar placed tuning fork. The idea is any signal, picture, or transmission created at one tower or tuning fork can be recreated at any tower or tuning fork at any distance around the Earth. The planet itself responds like a liquid, electromagnetic waves that can be reproduced anywhere. This means the wireless system can provide instant wireless television, radio, information, entertainment, and communications. Like ripples on a lake, any signal is recreated at any tower. Distance is annihilated. Wow. Wireless television, people. So you're all probably thinking, well, wait, we have wireless television because we use satellites, and those signals come back down to a base station, transmitted through a cable in the ground, and plugged into another cable where you get cable TV, DSL, whatever it may be. But that's not how it's supposed to fucking work, people. Because if I wanted to literally transmit what's on my computer screen right now to anybody in the United States, anybody in the world, right? That means if my computer has a specific type of ID, and I know your longitude and latitude, I should be able to create a software program that includes your particular computer ID and the measurement and signature intelligence signature that your computer gives off based on its model. Every piece of electronics gives off a particular ultra-low frequency vibration and signature to identify who manufactured it, when it was manufactured, and what the technology actually may be, all the way down to its serial number. I should be able to go to the nearest body of water or put a tuning fork on the ground. That signal is only for me and you. I attach some sort of transmission line to the tuning fork. I boom, hit that tuning fork. It goes through the computer. The computer sends back a signal through the wire, through the tuning fork. The tuning fork is literally in the ground, gets transmitted from Colombia to wherever I need it to go, those longitude and latitude coordinates. You need to have your tuning fork in the ground and your computer attached to it with the same cable, and then you see my screen in real time. Now talk about secure, encrypted, mobile-to-mobile fucking communications. There you go, right there. Secure, mobile-to-mobile, encrypted fucking communications. Oh, that signal was just created for you and no one else to see. Every government on the planet would be afraid of that fucking technology. They're already afraid of just basic software fucking encryption. Imagine if someone created a device where you press a button on your computer and it sends out a specific resonance, and you just put a nice little fork into the dirt and you send this signal out and broadcast it to every fucking computer, say in the United States, Europe, wherever it may be. Something for all you people to think about. Tesla's words, work, and incredible accomplishments have inspired many others. Tesla's views of the future, what wonders electricity, if used properly, could achieve, have been such inspirations. Most people think he was drawing a blueprint for that undiscovered country known as the future. What enlightened readers should realize is that Tesla also provided a map of the ancient past. Everything that Tesla dreamed and feared for tomorrow, his war of science, has already happened long ago in Atlantis. Interesting here, because they said that someone actually used some of his technology, and you guys can find this on your doing your own research, but I want to go forward to some things and show you some pictures, because this is only going to be an hour long anyway. In 1960, Herdenschot's device, now called a magnetronic generator, was researched by the U.S. Navy's Office of Naval Research. The generator was reported to have lit a 100-watt lamp by induced radio frequency energy. The project ended when Herdenschot committed suicide. Really? Committed suicide? Well, the Navy had his ass killed. A doctor of electrical engineering, T. Henry Morey, wrote the book The Sea of Energy, in which the Earth floats in 1960. It contains results of a 50-year study with another type of atmospheric energy collector during FDR's reign. Morey became the chief engineer of the western branch of the Rural Electrification Agency. He built a device that weighed 55 pounds and produced up to 50,000 watts. An ignorant coworker was so enraged by the strange principles Morey tested that he destroyed the machine. By today's standards, the loss would be over $1 million. Morey wrote that frequencies may be developed which will balance the force of gravity to a point of neutralization. Fucking levitation, man. Levitation. Morey, Quote, "It was during the Christmas holiday of 1911 that I began to realize that the fact that the energy I was working with was not of a static nature, but of an oscillating nature, and that the energy was not coming out of the earth, but that it rather was coming into the earth from some outside source." Wow. So, Nikola Tesla, how about them apples? Incredible. Go through a few photos here and bring this to a close in about 8 minutes, people. 1 hour, that's all we need is 1 hour. You're going to seek truth. You need to start all over again, going back to as far back to where you believe the genesis of all this was created. Whatever truth you seek, go back to its original source and then find out why it had to be created to become the truth. Tesla says if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. How about that? Everything has its own vibratory, transmission signal. This is funny. I don't care that they stole my idea. I care that they don't have any of their own. How about them apples? Arrogant in the motherfucker. I love it. I love them. Because that's how I fucking think. You can try to steal my ideas, but if I know you took my idea, you know I know you took my idea. And as long as you and I know that that's not your fucking idea, I'm sleeping very comfortable at night knowing that I created that shit that you're putting out to make money on. But eventually, I'll get my due. You might not be writing me a check, but I'll get my due. My day will come. Here's the Wardenclyffe Tower. Wi-Fi. First Wi-Fi. New York, baby. My home state. Tesla World Power Plant. No wires, man. Just sending out the electricity for free. Ain't that some shit? And you go another picture of him. The inventor and father of Wi-Fi. Not some fucking country ass, kangaroo eating, Foster's beer drinking fucking Australian. Look at this. Let's read this together. Nikola Tesla describing a cell phone back in 1926. When wireless is perfectly applied, the whole earth will be converted into a huge brain, which in fact it is, all things being particles of a real and rhythmic whole. We shall be able to communicate with one another instantly, irrespective of distance. Not only this, but through television and telephony, we shall see and hear one another as perfectly as though we were face to face, despite intervening distances of thousands of miles, and the instruments through which we shall be able to do all of this will fit in our vest pockets. Now, I want you to understand something. Yes, we got that technology today. Is it Tesla tech? It's a version of Tesla tech. But how I'm interpreting this is the fact that what he's saying is that he was always thinking far more advanced than what we already have. What you have in your pocket today as a smartphone, a tablet, or a computer, or a television, okay? What you have today, what we see today, is maybe fucking 1/10 of the capability that technology should possess. I think that what he was talking about is far fucking more advanced than what we have today. I don't even think the military has it because they're too fucking stupid to learn how to communicate, to learn how to develop and engineer something as advanced as Tesla was able to create. They're still, to this day, are too fucking ignorant. The military, the people who are working in science and technology and R&D, the Defense Advanced Research Project Agency, they put out fucking requests for information and proposals in these contracts because they can't do it themselves. They're hiring universities and small businesses and other innovative, thinkers and inventors who are creating this stuff for them. They pay them fucking peanuts, classify it as a state secret, and say, hey, piss the fuck off. We got it now. Oh yeah, and by the way, if you create anything else, that's fucking ours too. So don't worry, we'll be calling you. You don't need to call us. It's a bunch of fucking bullshit, people. This is interesting. Let me read this. Wireless of the future. He said, and this is in the highlighted green. It will only be necessary to carry an inexpensive instrument not bigger than a watch, which will enable its bearer to hear anywhere on sea or land for distances of thousands of miles. It makes you start thinking of how Apple, how Galaxy, how BlackBerry, all of them came up with these fucking ideas. The government's sharing these patents and this information that's classified as a state secret with these companies. Their blue chip companies are making hundreds of millions of billions of dollars. And when they fuck up, okay, if you think that companies are actually working to protect you, to keep your information secret and private and encrypted so the government can't fucking intervene in your life, you are fucking delusional. You're fucking crazy to think that. The government is giving them Tesla's fucking information to review, to create this shit. They're providing them with government contracting money. And they're signing secret agreements to say, listen, we're going to give you this. You're going to make a shitload of money. But guess what? When it comes time for us to have access to this shit, you're going to give us fucking access. So we're going to shut you the fuck down. So that whole shit with Apple, that was all bullshit. Granville T. Woods. The black fucking Edison, bro. This guy created the fucking telephone. He sold the idea to Thomas Edison. He sold the idea to Alexander Graham Bell. He sold it to them. And Alexander Graham Bell got the fucking patent. He applied for the patent and made fucking billions off of the telephone. The guy's family's still getting fucking royalties, man. Here goes every patent that Granville T. Woods developed. Look at this. This guy was known as the Black Edison. The Black Edison. This guy dropped out of school at 10 fucking years old, man. 10 years old. He educated himself, created the fucking telephone, sold it to Alexander Graham Bell, and that's who you're being told in school. That's who your kids are being told created the fucking telephone. The patent for his device, which combined the telephone and telegraph, was bought by Alexander Graham Bell, and the payment freed Woods to devote himself to his own research. One of his most important inventions was the troller, a grooved metal wheel that allowed streetcars, later known as trolleys, to collect electrical power from overhead wires. Come on, man. But you're told some fucking scandalous ass fucking white dude created this shit. People better wake the fuck up.